Welcome to the webinar. Today we're going to talk about just empowering your nonprofit, the Financial Tech Advantage. And we're going to have a panel discussion today. My name is Aretha Simons. I'm the webinar producer here at TechSoup. I'm going to show you how you can engage today. I know many of you attend our webinars. The most important thing is you are going to get the recording with the slides probably later today. And there's also another important thing I would love for you to do. When you close this Zoom window, there's going to be 2 questions. Take you 2 minutes to fill out. We want to know what more you would like to hear from our partners today. I'm going to move out of the way and turn this over to Stephen from Bill HR. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Aretha. It's nice to meet you all today. My name is Stephen Herzig. I'm a solutions consultant at Bill. So my job is to talk to customers pretty much all day, every day, one after another. Non-for-profits, they might be in the manufacturing space, the medical field, the pharmaceuticals. So very familiar with the challenges that these non-for-profits face whenever they're looking for, how to automate their AP processes, how to pay their bills faster, how to get paid faster. I'll be moderating the discussion today. And we're here to talk specifically about how real nonprofit leaders are navigating the complexity of nonprofit finance with automation and with strategic insight. And we have a few panelists with us today, so I want to start off by introducing those. And first of all, thank you guys for agreeing to do this today with us. So we have Heather Tomczak. She is the Director of Operations at Threshold COC. So Heather, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, great. Good morning or good afternoon or wherever we are. Our mission is connecting safe and affordable housing to our neighbors across our community because we believe housing is a human right. We coordinate the local continuum of care for our communities. So we cover Douglas, Sarpy County of Nebraska, and Pottawatomie County in Iowa. So what our work primarily does is partnering with local providers and stakeholders supporting the unhoused in our communities. My specific role is overseeing the operations of our small and mighty team of 6 folks. And I manage the large number of federal and state funds that we are entrusted with other philanthropy dollars. So thank you.
All right, so going to go and pass it to Carolyn here. Carolyn, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Stephen. 9 to 5's mission is to achieve economic justice for women and non-binary people of color. We're a national organization with 3 state chapters in Colorado, Georgia, and Wisconsin. We're a grassroots, member-based organization that organizes on the state level and nationally. We work to develop leaders, win people-centered policy change, and always make sure that those directly impacted by the issues are at the forefront of the solutions. We work on policies for pay equity, affordable quality childcare, housing rights, paid family leave, among other things that support better living and working conditions for women and non-binary people of color. A fun fact, the hit movie 9 to 5, starring Dolly Parton, Lily Tomlin, and Jane Fonda, was inspired by the advocacy work of our organization. So it was fun to see that song pop up in the chat earlier. The movie really helped bring national attention to key issues impacting working women and their families. I work behind the scenes, supporting mostly reporting and budgeting. Anytime I find a more efficient financial process that saves time for 9 to 5, or a more user-friendly process that makes life easier for 9 to 5 staff, it's a win for our organization. And Bill has been a great tool in helping us find those solutions.
Great, yeah, I'll have to tell my wife about that. She's a big Dolly Parton fan, and she would appreciate that story. So I didn't know that. I learned that today. So thank you for sharing that, Carolyn. So Katie, we'll go and give you a chance just to tell a little bit about yourself and why you're here today.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. So hi, everyone. My name is Katie Simpson. I am the Director of Accounting Services at Jitasa. At Jitasa, we provide bookkeeping and accounting, tax, CFO, and controller services exclusively for nonprofit organizations. So our mission is to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of nonprofit organizations with the goal of bringing financial clarity, so organizations can focus on doing more good. So our name, Jitasa, literally means the spirit of serving others. And so we exist to serve the nonprofits who make the world a better place.
Great. Yeah, so thank you all for introducing yourselves. Want to drill in just a little bit more about how you guys are supporting these not-for-profits. And Heather, this question is going to be for you. Tell us a little bit more about Threshold Continuum Care, and what is your role in supporting these families, and what are you doing every day to support them?
Thanks, Stephen. So primarily currently we're overseeing and managing an emergency rental assistance program in partnership with our local city government funds. So it's distributing kind of the last round of COVID dollars. Primarily we're working with a large number of eviction court cases to keep folks stably housed. So my role primarily is making sure that those funds are getting to the right vendors in a succinct and efficient way. So we distributed about $122 million over the last 3 years across our city of Omaha in rent and utility assistance, so folks can stay housed. These funds are distributed to local vendors. So I'm needing to access the information real time to see if they've made it there to the payment to ensure that they're not going to be evicted. So
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts about working with not-for-profits is just there's a lot of good being done, behind the scenes with these organizations. So, Carolyn, next question is going to be for you. Can you share? I know you mentioned a little bit about 9 to 5's mission, but what is your role in keeping things running behind the scenes there?
I'm just largely looking at our reporting and budgeting processes, and we implemented just a couple years ago looking at a grant accounting structure, and so it became much more complex in terms of our allocations and entries. And so everything from being able to use multiple fields and be able to sync that across all of our softwares has been very important to successfully report on our grant and program areas. And that has really informed and helped drive both of our management structures as well as greater decision making in our different areas of impact, which has been super insightful for our leaders.
Yeah, so and then Katie, Jitasa is a firm dedicated to supporting nonprofits. But what does your day-to-day finance role look like in that context?
Yeah, so my role as Director of Accounting Services, so I oversee 5 of our 18 or so groups here at Jitasa, and about 300 or so of our approximately 1,600 clients. So just kind of a small part of the picture. But kind of how I mentioned before, we do offer a variety of services to our clients to ensure that we're providing the most valuable services based on each nonprofit's specific situation. So high level, it's things like bookkeeping and accounting, tax, CFO, and those controller services that I mentioned. But at a bit of a deeper level, it's things like bill pay and payroll processing, entry of the data and reconciliation of accounts, audit support, 990 tax filings, grant tracking, the list goes on. And so each of our clients has a team working on their account to ensure everything is in the right place and things are reported as accurately as possible. So I just kind of have more of the kind of overseeing role of those groups that I kind of mentioned, just to ensure that our clients are served to the best of our ability.
Great. So, with nonprofits today, this has been a challenging year for a lot of nonprofits, right? And there's so many different ways that not-for-profits receive their funding, through grants or through donations, and the requests and the demand for transparency and reporting and just making sure that have a snapshot, in real time of where the finances are in that moment. And so I want to focus a little bit there and explore what that looks like to you guys. How does reporting you know, these limiting the resources that you guys are facing today, how is that impacting your business and what does that look like for you all? We're going to go to Heather for this. What is the biggest finance or operational hurdle you face before automation, especially when processing payments under urgent conditions?
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. I can speak, you definitely speak to this. So when I started, again, like it was, we had a external accounting firm. And when we were trying to distribute these funds quickly and efficiently, we had to track banking information. And what I felt Bill really offered to us and allowed us to do was to securely send an email to a landlord or to to a vendor and get that banking information so that we're not housing that information. And then I can actually track that bill through the process of here it was processed, and then if they call me and they're like, no, it didn't make it there, I can actually track it to see when it actually hits their bank account. So being able to respond to customer service calls, specifically with in relation to evictions, was super helpful to have Bill automate all that for us. So
Yep. Yeah, and so, you know, on to you, Carolyn, here. So you've shared that 9 to 5 saved around 20 hours per week with automation. Where did you feel like the most friction was before you implemented Bill?
Just in general, we were in a state of very fast growth for the organization. And so we didn't have the best infrastructure established. And we started looking at different financial technologies to help solve for that. And so that was where Bill came in and really had an established infrastructure, especially given our distributed staff across multi-states. The fact that it's completely online and has easy approvals, easy reminders, and easy connection to other vendors all really enhanced our operations quickly and provided an infrastructure for our small nonprofit that was really needed in this time of very rapid growth.
Awesome, awesome. And so next question to Katie here. So from your view, supporting other organizations, what recurring challenges or inefficiencies do you see in the sector today that you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, I mean, kind of touching on a little bit of what Carolyn said. So similarly, our process and how we used to serve clients in like the AP service is we used to print their checks in house, like in office. We would have their check stock and we would do AP runs on a weekly basis, and kind of that is not very efficient, right? So we're not able to get checks out quickly. We're not able to do it daily for our clients and when they may need it and things like that. It just like holds us up a lot. And so several years ago, we switched over to Bill being our exclusive platform for our bill pay function. And since we've done that, we have been able to be way more efficient. We can process their AP runs daily. If needed, we can send out more urgent ones. We can set up, the e-payment option, which a lot of our clients really, really enjoy. And so it's just made us way more efficient and able to serve our clients. And our clients, I know for sure, appreciate that and being able to also process their payments more efficiently, something that they don't have to worry about. They always love the approval routing, so that each kind of department head can approve the specific bills related to their department and their budgeting and things like that. So it's definitely been a huge improvement in our processes, as well as being able to serve our clients more effectively.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I appreciate that. So we're gonna, start a poll here real fast. So I'm gonna go ahead and launch this. So you guys should see a poll, and it's what area of financial operations would you most or oops, I think the question is here is wrong. So yeah, what's the biggest financial management challenge your nonprofit faces today? So I see those responses coming through here. We'll give everybody a few seconds here to submit their answers here. I'm actually kind of curious myself to see what you guys say here. Okay, we got a lot of responses coming through. Appreciate the engagement today, y'all. Still going. Got 67 responses and growing. Great. Okay, we'll give a few more seconds as the responses are still coming in here. What I'm kind of seeing is that they're distributed across they're very, very widely distributed here. A lot of all the aboves as well. So, all right, we'll go ahead and end the poll there and share the results. Okay, can you guys see those results there? So accounts payable coming in at the end there, right, with 8 out of 74. Expense management, and then, you know, budgeting and forecasting is number 2 with 28 out of the 74 results there. You know, financial reporting and analytics coming in at 30 out of the 74 responses, and then 18 of you said all of the above. So thank you guys for the engagement there. That's very interesting to see those data points there. All right, so moving on to our next question for our respected panelists here today. What was the impetus, you know, what drove you to adopt new financial automation? So I'm gonna direct this question to Caroline here. What was the moment you knew your existing systems were holding you back?
Thanks, Stephen. I joined 9 to 5 in 2021, and it was a very exciting time for the organization. 9 to 5 had recently gone through this period of rapid growth that I mentioned previously. But to give you some scale, in just 5 years, our budget tripled, going from 2 million to 6 million. Before I was hired, there was one operations staff member overseeing our finance, our operations, and our HR for a staff that more than doubled, going from 20 to 45 people, and all working across the country in various states. Additionally, we had added a C4 and taken on 2 fiscally sponsored projects. So given all of that growth, we were at this moment that we really needed to make changes for the nonprofit. So the first step was hiring me for more staff capacity. When I started, I helped the organization catch up on this backlog of finance work. But hiring for more staff capacity was just half the solution. We also started looking at new financial technologies to strengthen the infrastructure of our organization that just grew so fast. We wanted something that both helped the financial operations, but was also user-friendly for staff. And we came across Bill, and it's been a great solution. So we implemented the accounts payable of Bill side of things in 2021. And one of the things it's really helped with is that all of our invoices, W-9s, and contracts are right online, and that's streamlined the approval process for our state directors that are, again, working across the country. But it puts everything in one place, and they can very quickly approve things. Before, we were spending a lot of time just like following up via email, a bit more manually, and it's also helped strengthen our internal controls. Switching from cutting checks to e-payments has also been a big time saver. And most importantly, the software gives us the capability for a very complex nonprofit accounting structure. We utilize multiple different fields to track things. And so it's been great that the integrations support that as well. And Bill's AI features helps remember complex coding for us as well. So we grew quickly in a short time. So it was a very clear moment of change for the organization. And it prompted us to look for a new financial technology. It's really helped improve all of our processes and give a more timely month-end close as well, which has been great.
Yeah, amazing. You know, I'm on the more on the sales side, you know, so it's like I'm always selling to the customers, and it's really kind of neat to hear these stories, you know, years after somebody has implemented Bill. So I appreciate that input there, Carolyn. So next question is gonna go to Heather here. What specifically convinced your team that automation was necessary to scale your impact and your speed as a business?
Yeah, thank you. So I think similar to Carolyn's situation, our organization was handed over millions of dollars from the federal government that we had to distribute ASAP. And we didn't have the luxury so much of hiring a whole significant team to do that. I mean, we did grow a little bit, but not so much. We stuck with an external accounting firm. And so that was really difficult to manage kind of that customer service entity where we were getting phone calls of like, hey, the check didn't make it there, the paper check hasn't come. And so the switch was really to ensure that we were being efficient and super effective on the process of distributing the rental assistance to various landlords and vendors, paying our bills, obviously. So having that efficiency and being able to enter it and actually see it real time in the system was super beneficial for me to have those conversations with customers regarding their rental assistance. And then also kind of picking back into what I shared earlier was that automation of sending a vendor and a link to get in their banking account information so that we didn't have to have it in our small organization securely, captured so that we could pay them as a direct deposit, as an e-payment, and getting rid of kind of those paper checks for certain vendors that were wanting checks like ASAP. And so it basically kind of the process that we just needed to make things work efficiently. This work is really super hard anyways. We don't need to make it harder. So our organization felt it was necessary to move to a system that was going to help us do that work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's something I hear a lot on the nonprofit side, to your point about headcount, right? It's very tough to get additional headcount approved, in a non-for-profit. So as you're growing and you're scaling and your AP bill volume is increasing and you don't have more people to process those, what do you do, right? And I think that's where Bill comes in and can offer a great solution to, make sure that you don't have to add that additional headcount because you can just get that much more efficient as an organization. So thank you for that, Heather. Next question, I'm going to direct to Katie here. And I want her to kind of weigh in from her advisory lens. Like, how do you guide nonprofits to recognize that you're ready to shift from manual to automated workflows?
Yeah, good question. It's definitely something that anytime we have a client that is kind of reached out to us and is ready to kind of take that next step and start working with us, Bill is one of those things that we offer right from the get-go. A lot of the clients that come to us sometimes are already using Bill, which is awesome. We can just kind of jump right into their current process and help out in that regard. But a lot of times our clients are coming to us and they need a more efficient way to handle their AP process. And so Bill is always something that comes up right away, right from the get-go. We're really big on automation and efficiency in general. Wherever we can be more efficient for our clients, we're always wanting to jump on that. Then that will only translate to more positive things for our clients as well. So basically, anytime we have a client that has a need for paying outside vendors, when they either don't have auto pay set up, or maybe that's something that they don't want to set up because they need specific approvals or things like that. Bill is like I mentioned earlier, the only platform that we use to process those payments for our clients. And so basically, to answer your question, we're always looking for ways to improve, and anytime a client comes to us, we're always trying to improve that by adding Bill to at least the AP side of it to their services. But we also had a lot of clients that have also started using the spend and expense side as well. That has been a huge game changer also.
Yeah, well, thank you, Katie. Yeah, and I think we're kind of in a similar role where we're just looking to advise our customers and give them the best feedback and input down the process as we can. And so appreciate your answer there. I have a couple additional questions I wanted to direct to Carolyn on this one. So Carolyn, 9 to 5 has a distributed workforce across multiple states, right? Which can lead to its own series of challenges, right? Especially when you're trying to collect all this information. how did that influence the way you thought about financial operations within your organization?
Just having Bill as a platform.
Yeah. So I'm like, how did that impact, having Bill, like, with multi-state and your
Mm.
approvals and how did that kind of change or influence your work processes there?
We saw so much gains in efficiencies in terms of moving from like relying on email and Google Drive to having one software that really centralized all documents, centralized approval process, centralized viewing. Everything just was streamlined and so much easier. We got so much positive feedback from our program and director staff as well, just on the ease of viewing, ease on approvals. And it definitely, we gained a lot of efficiencies in how quickly we're processing invoices, and that really helps with our month-end close process as well. So just so many things were gained given that distributed remote workforce.
Yeah, I work remote myself, and a lot of positives to it, but the negatives are that lack of communication, the lack of standing next to somebody, seeing them every day, and if you have a receipt, you can't just walk it down to the office. You got to do something with that receipt to get it to the right people, and so thank you for that response there. Heather, I'm going to follow up on you're talking about payments and just the volume of payments that you guys were processing. What role did automation play in helping you maintaining financial accountability as your payments scaled?
That's a good question. So Bill allowed us to like upload. So the automation, so up for us to just upload it, and then our accountant just takes those invoices and then uploads it, and then it automatically populates. And then housing it in one spot was super beneficial to have. It was just a game changer for instead of us, well, me managing that, entering manually millions of thousands and thousands of invoices to get them paid out was super um, not efficient. And so it was a game changer to get that uploaded.
Yep. Yeah, I hear that quite a bit. Customers still uploading, Nacha files, to their bank to process those payments. And, maybe it's not a big deal when you're processing 30 a month, but when you scale to 60 and you scale to 100, then you're scaling to 1,000, all those things happen. And it's a much more time intensive process as that payment volume scales there. So thank you for that, Heather. All right, we're going to go and launch our second poll here. And so the question on this one is, what is, oops, I think I started the wrong one here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, we're going to go to, cool. This one right here. What is your organization's current approach to financial processes? So again, lots of engagement. Thank you all for engaging here. This is interesting as these are coming through. I'm seeing some really strong responses, so I'll let you guys keep going there. Great, we'll give you guys another about 15 seconds here. Okay, gonna go ahead and end it right now. All right, I'm gonna go share those results with you guys. So this one is very, very polarized. So fully automated, 1 out of 68 said they were fully automated with their accounting processes. So if nothing else, all of you out there can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief knowing that you're not alone, right? And that there's going to be some manual processes whenever you're working in accounting, right? Partially automated, so it was 45 out of 68, and then mostly manual, 23 out of 68 there. So I've also found it interesting that there was nobody out there that wasn't sure. It seemed like everybody kind of knew where the processes stood, and so that's an interesting result. Thank you guys for your engagement there. I am going to take a quick second here. I had a couple questions come in the chat, and I wanted to address those. So let's go start with Jody here, Jody Lane. We are a fiscal sponsor and struggle with the process for getting approvals of invoices from our project leaders. We are a very tiny nonprofit and can't afford bill licenses for these leaders. And we have been using Monday.com to automate when an invoice comes through to email the project leaders. Do the panelists have solutions for this? So I just would be curious, anybody from the panel want to take that question, kind of get put on the spot right now?
So we do set up our processes. So like I would agree, like we're a small nonprofit. I have 6 people. And we have external like our treasurer is one of the process components of approving certain bills over like a $10,000 threshold. We just set up the process to ensure that like once that bill comes through that's over 10,000, that they have to approve those said approvals. It doesn't mitigate the fact that I still have to, reach out to this said treasurer sometimes if they're out on vacation, however, but we do utilize external folks within the process to approve our bills.
Yeah, and to your point, Jody as well, on being able not to be able to afford, the licenses and such. If you did need to talk to somebody at Bill, just let us know. We can sometimes work out, nonprofit pricing for some of those smaller organizations that are kind of struggling to find, the funds to be available for that. So appreciate your question there. So Kara asked the question too, and how does it work for an audit? Do you still have to download the items that the auditor wants and send them, or can you grant the auditor access to get to what they need? So Kara, we can set up an auditor only role, which comes at a fraction of a cost of a full user within Bill. And then that auditor would just have a read-only view into the Bill account, and then they could perform their audit with that read-only license there. So that's typically what we recommend whenever you have an auditor only there. So, and thank you for that question there, Kara. Man, these are coming in hot here. So I'm gonna Haley put a comment in there for your question, Jody, about there's a discount rate through TechSoup. So there's a URL in the chat there if you guys have questions about getting that discounted rate there. Okay, so then thanks, Jody, for those response. Okay, cool. Awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next question here. All right, so during the process, we onboard you, you could talk to somebody at Bill during the sales process, you sign an agreement, you go through implementation with one of our implementation consultants where they're going to take their time and, help you implement the solution. Once the solution was live, I'm going to go back to the panelists here. What did that automation unlock? So I'm going to start with Heather here. You mentioned this earlier, but you used to enter thousands of payments manually. What changed with Bill in place? Like, what was the one major thing that changed whenever you put Bill in place?
Well, auditing, I would say that auditing helped us with funders, donors, because I would say that we don't always, federal funds aren't always super awesome coming through very quickly. So that auditing component allowed us time to get with donors in order to secure additional funds. But tracking, I think also tracking payments. So the automation side of it. I'm hoping I'm answering your question correctly.
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
But yeah, auditing it and an all in one spot. I think Carolyn said it earlier, but like having all that information in one spot instead of going to multiple different areas. So like tracking the payment, ensuring that it cleared, allowed me just to save time for other duties as assigned, I guess, essentially.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's feedback I get a lot about using a system like Bill is, a lot of times people are using disparate systems. They have, this team has their own process where somebody literally, prints off a document and then they sign it, put their initials in the bottom right corner and hand that off to somebody else who, who handwrites a check, right? Or prints off a check record there or whatever it is. They all look a little different. And so I hear that all the time. By bringing this into Bill, it just helps them standardize the process to where they know kind of as an organization that this is how that's done versus doing it, willy-nilly based on how each individual team has done it historically there. So thank you for that. Thank you for that, Heather. I want to transition to talk a little bit with Carolyn about Bill Spend and Expense product. So we have a corporate card product where you can open up a line of credit with Bill and enable your individuals within your company to spend with budgets and controls on that spend. So Carolyn, how has visibility and control improved across your team with using Bill Spend and Expense product?
Yeah, it's improved a lot. We again had implemented the accounts payable module back in 2021, and we saw these vast improvements in our AP processes. And the reality of our nonprofit staff is that our policy and program staff are super busy. They're always on the go. And so while we'd made those improvements of the AP process completely controlled by the finance team, we were struggling to collect our credit card receipts in a timely manner every month. And that was really still kind of holding up our month-end close and our accurate financial reporting. So as a team, we really started to put our heads together and talk about how can we improve this process and make it a bit easier for our staff as well. And so up to that point, we'd had an extremely manual process. Like I would grab a report, get it out to each individual staff member, and they'd upload receipts to Google Drive, and then I'd be entering every single one into QuickBooks Online. So just again, very manual. We also just limited staff capacity wouldn't get all the receipts in, and so there'd be all this time-consuming follow-up trying to go track down receipts from vendors and get them. We found our program staff was also frustrated with the process. So when we learned about Bill Spend and Expense, it seemed like a great product to try given all of the success we'd had with the AP model. And we had conversations about how would we make improvements. So both rolling out the technology and having important conversations with our staff on the importance of getting credit card receipts in. It was a game changer, and it's super user-friendly for staff. They're able to see their expenses in real time right when they're made, and they can snap a photo of a receipt and upload it right when they make a purchase. Also, for our nonprofit grant accounting structure, you can charge an expense to multiple grants, which really helps us. And as a finance team, we can set budget limits per each card. And also sometimes I get someone that reaches that limit and they reach out to me and I can look at the budget and see if it's there. And if it is, give them additional funds for a month. And it just gives us that immediate insight into spending on a daily basis. So we really moved from months of missing receipts to operating with real-time spending insight. And it really helps with a timely month-end close as well.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Carolyn. And so next question is going to be to Katie on this. What are some of the measurable or surprising wins you've seen in orgs that made the leap for automation?
Yeah. Like I said a little bit earlier, we always are recommending both the AP module and the Spend and Expense module to our clients. So anytime that we have a client that comes to us and they want to have some different approvals in place or some different budgeting, which is what the Spend and Expense can really be helpful with, like kind of like Carolyn mentioned a few minutes ago. And so we've had a lot of success stories with clients who have been so relieved. A lot of the clients that we work with have maybe previously used platforms like Expensify, which is a great option. However, it doesn't quite give you the same automation and efficiency, I would say, that Spend and Expense does. And so a lot of our clients, we've actually transitioned to Spend and Expense, and they've seen huge improvements with their ability to collect the receipts. With Spend and Expense, a lot of our kind of like what Carolyn was kind of mentioning. A lot of our clients have, specific people that they're trying to track down with receipts and things like that. But when you have the app on your phone, they can just quickly like take a picture of the receipt and upload it right then and there, instead of having to kind of save that receipt and then kind of compile them all at the end of the month. And so we've seen a lot of improvements from our clients who have previously struggled with tracking down those receipts. And then when they implement the spend and expense, it's allowed them to kind of have all of that information there, syncs directly with the accounting software so that there is no kind of double entry, which is much more efficient, and then even timely month closes so that they have access to their financial reports much faster.
Yeah, and you brought up a great question there, Katie, or a great topic there. So she mentioned that we do have a sync with Sage Intacct, NetSuite, QuickBooks, Enterprise Desktop, Online, Business Central, and with Xero. So we have a native integration that we would just implement, and set that up, and then they would just push the data bidirectionally between the two systems there. But then I did have another question here by Kara. So we use FastFund by Arrays. And have you worked with other MPOs that use sorry, somebody had another asked question that jumped up, that use this accounting system, and have you been able to integrate with it? So for those of you in the nonprofit world that are not on one of, like not on Sage Intacct, which is the most common I think I see for some of the larger non-for-profits, if you have, like a FastFund system, we can do a CSV import and export for that system. So whenever you're trying to create those journal entries, after you create your bills and after you make the payments, we have a system basically to export the data from the bill account and then import that back into your accounting system so that your GL is up to date. And if you guys have more questions about that, I can definitely hop on a demo with you guys, kind of explain how that's going to work, maybe do some screen sharing to validate that it would indeed work with how you guys are managing your processes there. So thank you for that question, Kara, and let me know if you want to, discuss that more in depth after the call today. So, okay, so let me go ahead, and these questions are coming in hot here. So, Jody mentioned that we also love spend and expense. We were faced with an equity issue. We serve project leaders in under-resourced communities when they were faced with floating expenses from their personal accounts until they reimbursed. Reimbursement is just not an option if you are a low-income gardener. So providing them with a credit card has really made our work more accessible. Our various project leaders also like the ability to limit spending with budget buckets. So thank you for that input there, Jody. But that's something that we hear quite a bit is, if you wanted to create a line of credit with $100, send somebody out with $100 to go pick up supplies for a job, you can do that with spend and expense. So you're not sending somebody out with a $15,000, limit credit card where your exposure is, maybe not acceptable for the trust that you have in that employee. So that's something that we hear quite a bit on that side there. So, okay, we're going to jump into one more poll here. And the question on this one is, let me see here. Which question we got? What's this question here? Okay, so what has been the biggest obstacle to your organization adopting financial automation at your organization? So again, see those responses coming in hot here. I think this has been my favorite part so far, is just seeing the answers here. I've actually kind of been surprised on some of these, so be curious to see what the answer on this one is. We got 30 responses coming in hot. Okay, give it a couple minutes or a couple seconds here. Okay, 10 more seconds and then we'll wrap this one up. All right, go ahead and end the poll there. Share these results with you all. So budget constraints coming in hot at number 1. Totally understand that. It's especially this year, right? That's something I've heard probably 30, 40 times this year with non-for-profits is this, we're not sure about our funding model. We're not sure where the funds are coming from next year. We're working through our budget. We're trying to figure out what that's going to look like for 2026. And so totally understand that. And then, resistance or change from leadership or staff. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a call with a customer and I'm asking them kind of why they're doing it that way. And they're like, well, that's just how we've always done it, right? And so they're trying to make, Sage Intacct, or they're trying to make their ERP, or they're trying to make Bill kind of match their process. But in reality is if they just kind of followed maybe a bit more of a standard flow and change their process up a little bit, it might be easier to integrate with other systems, and it might make their process much more efficient by changing some of those processes. So that resistance is definitely something that I encounter quite a bit. So uncertainty about where to start. I understand that, definitely empathize with that. It can feel a bit overwhelming. And again, that's it where it's just great to talk to somebody at Bill, go through, we'll show you kind of what the platform can and can't do. So then also concerns about compliance or security risks. 9 out of 59 on that. So, Bill's a SOC 1, SOC 2 compliant solution. We also have a HIPAA compliant solution as well. So again, if you guys want to have more conversations about those topics, let me know there. So, okay, so then let's talk a little bit about lessons and advice for other non-for-profits. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into some questions here. And I want to talk a little bit about, what advice you all would have for orgs that are just getting started. Like, what do you wish you would have known, 3, 4, 5 years ago before you kind of started your automation journey? So I'm going to start by directing the first question to Carolyn here. What would you say to a nonprofit struggling to move away from spreadsheets?
Oh, yes, I would say make the move. You'll be so glad you did. I know when my director was thinking about the bill spend and expense module, I was a little hesitant because I was worried about the time it would take to implement and change and get all the staff oriented. I have to say, it does take a little time investment to implement a new software, as well as learning how to use that new tool. But that little upfront time investment just pays off over and over and over again in the long run, where you see the improvement in your financial operations, both for your finance staff and your program staff. We are just seeing more and more financial tools with automated features. Like AI is just there to partner with humans at this point. And I think that it's especially helpful to take advantage of those efficiencies for nonprofits that often have limited staff capacity, and are looking to make operations as efficient as possible. So I would highly recommend making the switch.
Great. I appreciate that, Carolyn, making my job a little easier here on the sales side. So thank you for that. All right, now to Heather. How has automation helped with donor confidence or audit prep?
Yeah, that's a great question. So just with automation, I think Carolyn, you said it best. Making the switch to automation really creates efficiencies. So speaking to like the approval process and just setting up processes and having processes in place for our nonprofit, our small nonprofit, and for my boss to approve those wherever he is. He has the app on his phone and just approves it. And so I don't have to wait. I can get those invoices done quickly and efficiently. So that allows us to get, the tracking component, so compliance, so I can showcase to my donors, like, here's the process that's in place, here's how we handled it, here's the systems that we're operating through. And so then they have donor confidence with us that we are good stewards of the dollars. So.
Yeah, it seems every year, my wife works for a non-for-profit. She's a teacher, and every year there's just additional requirements from the donors. The different expectations are set. So, and then you guys are kind of sandwiched in the middle of all that, where you kind of have to figure out how to show them that information and provide what they want. So, it's a no small task for sure. And then we're going to do a question to Katie here. Whenever you're advising your customers, you probably come across this all the time. How should nonprofits approach evaluating the right tools for their team?
Yeah, I think the first step is just to kind of stop and assess. Figure out what is the most important and what is the most urgent. For example, does it feel like we have a hiccup or something with your AP process? Does it feel like grant reporting seems to be the bottleneck? Kind of stop and just assess where you feel you need the most help, and then figure out, of the areas that you need the most help, what do you know how to do and have time to do versus what can you not do or are kind of wanting to kind of utilize something else for that. And then from there, you really have a better idea of kind of where to start. And then you can kind of start researching specifically what you need help with. So whether that's an automation tool, whether that's outsourcing a specific area or a specific service, and then you can kind of go from there. But it's kind of first to kind of take a step back and really understand what areas you need help with and what areas you feel like you have bottlenecks or different things like that. And then you can kind of customize from there.
Yeah, great advice. I definitely agree with everything you said there, Katie. So yeah, appreciate that. So I did want to leave a little time here at the end for some questions. I wanted to just kind of wrap this up with just first of all being incredibly grateful to all of you, the three of you today. Carolyn, Katie, Heather, appreciate you guys jumping in to talk about Bill and to help inform everybody today about the best practices that you guys have seen in the industry. So round of applause as you're sitting behind your desk, wherever you are, give them a little round of applause. So thank you guys. So again, something that's really stood out to me today is, automation isn't about just saving time. It's about mission capacity, how many people you have, how you're going to support, the processes as they scale and grow. So I want to close with this, and you can drop this in the chat. You can, anybody, one of the panelists can discuss this if you want to, but what's one thing that you're now able to do better or faster that truly benefits your mission? Related to automation there. So anybody want to drop anything in the chat that any victories they've had with automation? And I'm seeing some responses come in here. Looks like I did have a question on the Xero side with spend and expense. Does Bill spend and expense sync with Xero? That has been an issue with keeping spend and expense budgets accurate. We do have an integration on the spend and expense side with Xero. If you have questions about that, Jody, I could chat through that with you. If you want to, I dropped my email earlier into the chat. So we do have the sync enabled. There are some, field limitations on what fields will and will not sync depending on the dimensions that you want for those transactions as they sync back to Xero. So that may be worthwhile to just have a conversation one-on-one with somebody from Bill to be able to chat through how that integration works. But we do have an integration with Xero currently there. So thanks for the info. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Okay, I got Noor. I got your email. Thank you for dropping that in the chat here. Go ahead and make sure I put that in my notes. Okay, any other questions? Yep. I'm not sure if I see anything else on the question side. Any closing comments from anybody on the panel today? Anything else you guys want to share before we wrap up today?
I would just say thanks for having me. It was been a pleasure chatting with all of you. And yeah, thanks again so much.
Heather, Carolyn, any final retorts?
I agree. I appreciate it. The opportunity to chat with everybody. I am not the accountant, so that is not my forte. So it's like I said, it's interesting to hear kind of the feedback and being able to offer my insight on how I have utilized Bill.
Yeah. Carolyn, any final comments from you?
Just that we've been so happy with the change of using Bill. It's been great improvements for our organization. So that's been wonderful. And thanks so much for everyone's time today.
Yep. Yeah, and again, appreciate the three of you. Invaluable insight. I learned a lot today. Anybody on the call that's still out there that would like to book a demo with Bill, there's a QR code here. If you want to pull your phone out, you can snap a little picture there. That'll take you to a link where you can book a demo with somebody on our team. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up today. Thank you guys so much for attending. Thank you to TechSoup for running this event today. Thank you to our esteemed panelists, and you guys have a great rest of your day.